3.11 yards per carry allowed, 16th in college football.
That's for the year?
Yeah.
Man,
Oh, wow.
I mean, I just, no, I didn't know that. I'm just baffled by that. Or you want to bracket Boston, and then you let your trio of wide receivers, the Young Bucks, what you really saw in that final drive, they brought that safety over, and we had 40 seconds or whatever it was to get down the field to get a field goal, and we just go RVB, and when we're down the field in 25, 30 seconds, boom, we kick a field goal, and we go into half. And it's just, pick your poison with this offense, man. I think Damon Williams has taken that next step. I think he is putting the nation on notice. In the big house, big noon kickoff, we get a late field goal. The Dogs win 24-23.
All right, before we get into Rutgers, because we did have a crazy game at Husky Stadium on Saturday night, make sure you go hit the like, subscribe. Do we really want to talk about the AP poll again? Izzo, what do you think?
No comment. I really have a hard time believing that somebody watched the second half of the Rutgers game and was like, no, that's not a top 25 team.
It's journalistic erectile dysfunction. That's what it is. That's what it is. It's just a letdown. You know what I'm saying?
If you're Husky Twitter, let the people who are beating the drum about how he got snubbed beat that drum. Let the people who have Noah's disposition of good, let's use that as motivation, beat that drums too. Neither narrative are bad for us, to be honest with you. Who cares if other fans think we're griping? It doesn't matter.
And we are griping.
Yeah.
The reason the reason that we're so upset is we beat Rutgers 38-19. We looked like the dominant team. And on Montlake that night, we saw one of the great performances in Big Ten quarterback history with Damon Williams going for over 400 yards passing and 136 yards rushing with 4 TDs. When you were watching that game, I know the first quarter had to make you feel a certain way, but then after the first quarter, we started finding our rhythm. What were your takeaways from that game besides the slow start?
I thought the offensive line did what they were supposed to do against an inferior defensive line compared to what we had faced. We kind of knew that coming in, but I thought to actually see it in action, a guy like Pocky grade out the way that he did. PFF had him 81 in pass blocking, 64 in run blocking. On the other side of the football, I think they had like 493 yards. But we were 5 for 15 against them on third down and held them to 6 points in the second half. Red zone, they were 3 of 6. I thought that they did a good job of kind of limiting Jonah. I wonder if it was in the game plan. We were just like, hey, the pathway for us to win in the third and fourth quarter is just us just unleashing Demond. I didn't think we'd need to go there, but again, Noah was right on the Demond design run stuff, so that was cool. X-Ray showing up, 9 tackles, stepping in for Manu, not being there, not being able to play. He wanted to, obviously, the way that he is. He's chomping at the bit in the middle of a lawsuit with the NCAA for his eligibility, maintaining another year. So I thought that was great. We called it out ahead of this game. The interior offensive line for them on that offensive line was their strength. They have 2 honorable mention all Big Ten guys from last year playing in this game. Their center and I believe right guard. And we were getting some pressure up the middle. I saw Ty in Ontario. I think they graded in the 70s, mid 70s in terms of pressure rate against the pass. And Lane and Ward both had a good amount of pressures in this game. So that was great to see. I just thought tale of two halves. Rutgers came out quick. That was worrisome. I thought that if we didn't have a lead at half, that we might kind of come out of our game plan. But our coaches, man, are proving to be elite and making adjustments for the second half. Once they have the conversations that they need to have, boy, we look like a different team. It's really encouraging. We're going to need that down the stretch.
So real quick, you had mentioned Manu. I know people are asking questions. Do we have any word on when we're supposed to get word on if he's going to be able to get the extra year?
I don't know a time frame on that. I hope it's soon. I would assume it's expedited given the circumstances, but who knows how many different names are trying to fight for that same thing. It's just unfortunate his situation is that, and Jed talked about it in his presser that like when he got hurt, we wished it was like 3 or 4 weeks ahead. That 3 or 4 weeks can make a big difference. So I hope he gets it. If not, we really got to lean on X-ray because I don't think it's fair to, and nor do I think Jed will do it, play him and lose this, have this year count towards his eligibility. And we really need, we'll need him.
Izzo, do you think are you aware of the lawsuit that he's filed? I'm under the impression that it's kind of mirroring the Diego Pavia's lawsuit from Vanderbilt. Has to do with kind of like when you make your money, those JUCO, or I think it was for Diego Pavia, it was like his New Mexico Military Institute year counted towards his 4 years, 5 years, whatever it was. But I think it has to do a little bit with that. So I wonder if Diego Pavia gets that that extra year, it probably bodes well for Manu as well. So just something to keep in mind.
Yeah, I know Jed Fish in his press conference said that the big thing that they're fighting is last year, this year have all been partial seasons, and they don't want those counting again. Like, the kid deserves one full season, because you're right. He might not have a chance to make money at the next level. He deserves his chance to get his pay and get a full season of it. Now, Washington had a crazy, crazy offensive output. I mean, you had 38 points, but you also had 579 yards of total offense, and it was pretty damn beautiful. Noah, I think the big elephant in the room is Damon. Break down what you thought about Damon's performance.
Yeah, when you think of a night like a 400, 100 type night, if you guys remember Marcus Tuiasosopo, he had a 300, 200 day on Montlake.
I do remember that
20 years ago or so. And I think people kind of thought we'll never see anything like that. But a 400 plus, 100 plus night was unbelievable. But the stat that really stood out to me was his yards per completion, how gaudy those were, 15 yards per completion. And I just felt like the thing you hear about Damon is how elite he is, quick speed. But I've said this in other pods, I'll say it again. He is just so efficient. And if he can get that ball out quick with, man, he is virtually an unstoppable quarterback. And I just think he takes our offense just to that whole other level. A couple other things I noticed looking at this game was, how about that first touchdown pass to Denzel Boston?
Oh, my God.
Dude, an absolute thing of beauty, man. Just a simple go route. I look at that as like, hey, he looks across the line and just goes, hey, man, I'm better than you. Throw me the ball. Hot route, get the eye connection with Denzel, throws him up. Big old meat cleaver hands, man, just rips that ball out.
So strong.
Dude,
so strong.
I mean, that to me is just an I'm better than you route. And then going back, Izzo already kind of hit this, but the design runs for Damon, I think he ended the night with, 88 yards on those design runs. But I just think what that does, it takes this offense to a whole nother level. Man, I want to point something out on his design run. Remember that fumble play late in the first half? I just love the concept. You have Quentin Moore playing the H-back on the right side. We run that play to the left. We downset hike. He comes across. Now he's the leading blocker. Then we take Max McCree, who I actually thought, boys, Max kind of settled in pretty well in this game.
Mm-hmm. He had a rough first quarter, but
yeah, he did. Yeah. I agree, but he settled in. Dude, he's making blocks on the edges. And man, if Damon just holds that ball with two hands, I really think, dude, maybe we're down on the 1 yard line, 2 yard line. We probably score there, and the game might have been over a lot quicker. But they get that play in the red zone, that turnover in the red zone. But I just love that design concept. But man, in the end, I'll say this: once this offense kind of gets rolling, the train's hard to stop. You can spy Damon and bracket Boston, but then that's going to leave the seams open, and it's going to leave Roybeck and RVB open. Do you want to load the box to shut down Jonah, which I think Rutgers tried to do, but then we'll RPO you to death with Damon, and he goes for 136? Or do you want to bracket Boston, and then you let your trio of wide receivers, the young bucks, what you really saw in that final drive, they brought that safety over, and we had 40 seconds or whatever it was to get down the field to get a field goal, and we just go RVB, and when we're down the field in 25, 30 seconds, boom, we kick a field goal, and we go into half. And it's just, pick your poison with this offense, man. And I'll tell you what, I don't know what poison you can pick, but the thing is not everybody has, like I've said, Ohio State, man. Not everybody has erasers at all levels. So this opportunity this weekend with Michigan, we'll see another test, but I think it's something that we can kind of get through.
Yeah, what's crazy is you brought up the efficiency with Damon. Damon threw for 400 yards on only 27 attempts.
It's unbelievable.
To put that into perspective, Callie McManus, the Rutgers quarterback, he had 50 attempts. I think he had 380 yards, but he did it on 50 attempts. And, the freshman, especially Roebuck, really showed up. But if we're going to talk about wide receivers, let's talk about Boston, because Boston's really showing up. Now, Izzo, we talked about the one catch to Boston, the first one, but can you elaborate a little bit more on what you thought about what Denzel did?
I mean, he's just constantly distracting the defense. He opens everything up. What was interesting about this is, like Noah said, we just went right after him regardless. I think RVB, Raiden Vinesbright, had 21 snaps in the slot, and you would think that they would pick on that, especially with Cam Miller, who really struggled in this game, just in coverage in general, whichever matchup he had. But he was in the nickel a lot, and we didn't really even have to go after him that often. I think Raiden Vinesbright ended with like 4 or 5 targets in this game, so we just went right after Denzel. And what helps is that this might be obvious, but the fact that Damon poses such a threat, and we ran him as much.
He had 13 total carries in the game.
That means your play action opens. It doesn't matter who's in the slot. Like, you're going to go after Denzel, because if you give him that much time, he's going to be open. And when you can trust him on the go routes like that, the 2 touchdown passes were both fantastic. You're going to go to him. Like, you don't need to recreate the wheel. He's that good.
That's such a huge reliever for Damon too, to have that big body coming across the middle.
Yeah, and it also leads to the ability that you've kind of in some games held him back, in some games you let him go, but it allows you to hide Decker DeGraff in your scheme.
That's a good call right there. That's a good call
when you have that threat, and I think that'll kind of tease into the Michigan stuff, but. Big thing for me was the explosives that we're getting, especially off of play action, the scrambles, and the fact that we finished drives. I think we were 4 or 5 in the red zone, except for that one fumble on the 1 yard line, which is kind of ticky tack. Like, that was a touchdown,
That's fluky.
Yeah, it was kind of fluky. So I thought that was a whole lot better that we have to have in this Michigan game.
Okay.
Do you guys think? But while we're talking a little bit about this game, is this game got a little trap to you for Oregon going into Rutgers this weekend?
Oh man, that would be lovely.
I think they got enough offensive firepower, especially at home. They got to go all the way to Piscataway, New Jersey, to play this game. I mean, they might just blow the doors off them, but I just got this little feeling that Rutgers might, just be able to hang around a little bit, man. I'm telling
you. They're going to score.
Yeah. They get a lot of yards. They average 443 yards a game. Yep. I mean, their offense is explosive. Somebody was trying to talk to me on Twitter today about how Rutgers sucks. And I was like, and they're like, oh, you gave up 500 yards to them. I was like, they averaged 443 yards. They did it against Iowa. They did it against Wisconsin. That's what they do.
Dude, they easily have a top 5 Big Ten wide receiver group, like, no question.
Yeah, absolutely.
No question. Like, and I know we gave up all those yards, but I thought once we kind of settled in, especially in the second half, man, we played pretty well against them.
Yeah, that's real. That's real. Anything else you guys want to go over with that offense, or should we switch over to the defensive side?
Let's go to
No, we can switch over. I will say this just because I was thinking about it. With regards to like just the aura in the locker room for Oregon in that game, coming off a loss, at least all that I've seen from like the marketing that they do with all these videos with Oregon and whatnot is that like we're the dominant team, we go in and dominate. So it'll be interesting how that narrative flips, where it's like we have to overcome adversity, and how those players deal with that loss will be interesting. But yeah, we can go into the defense.
We will see, and I'll tell you what, after the 4 wins by the home team, and then adding the Oregon loss as the little twist of good luck to the end of it. It was an ultimate weekend in Seattle sports.
It was perfect.
Yeah, it really was. The only thing that was bad was I lost my fantasy league. I lost in my fantasy. But anyway, let's look to the UW defense. They started off a little bit slow, but eventually got their feet under them. And we saw pressures, we saw interceptions, we saw Takario being Takario. Noah, what did you think about the defensive performance from UW on Saturday night?
For the very first thing I noticed was at the end of the game, our run D was elite. And I'll tell you why. They hit us with that 51-yard chunk play right off the jump. And I remember looking at Izzo and going like, It ain't going to be one of those nights, is it? You know?
Mm.
But from there, they had 14 carries for 38 yards, averaged 2.7 yards a carry. You saw it in the game. They hit us on a couple plays, and we shifted to a 5-man front. I don't know how many different times we did it, but a lot of times when I looked, man, and it seemed like that really shut them down. And what that kind of tells me is that with Takario playing man press alongside Efi, and Leroy, I think that really shows it that our coaches truly trust those guys to say, hey, we need to shut this run game down. Yeah, they're going to have 380 yards or whatever passing, but I think this is kind of the pathway to victory. Don't you guys kind of think this is a question for you? I kind of think, man, this interior defensive line, I know we got some injuries and stuff on the edges, but I think this front is kind of coming together at the right
Oh
time,
yeah.
especially for Michigan. What
I
are your
agree.
thoughts on that?
The whole rotation is solid, but because those guys are coming in rested, it makes your stars shine a little bit more. But yeah, to answer your question short, no, yes.
What I noticed was after DT Sheffield beat Leroy Bryant, he came off, and I think Rashawn Clark played the rest of the game in the nickel. Do you think we're going to see more of that going into next week?
Yeah, I talk about confidence that the defensive staff has, in our back half. And this is nothing against Leroy Bryant, but man, I'm telling you, Rashawn Clark has that like ball hawk playmaking ability. A lot of the same stuff I talk about with like Dylan Robinson. And it's hard for me to say like, no, we won't see more Rashawn Clark because I think that kid is going to be an absolute. I think he's an NFL DB. I've said it since he was in high school. So I do. I think that's where we end up going. I think he plays well in the run game. I think he's just one of those players. But one question I had too is how many picks could we have had in this game? I feel like
Oh
we dropped
God.
picks. I feel like there's some bogus like PI calls that
Oh
we
my
thought
God.
we even had it. We even had an interception. We didn't get it. But when I talked about the turning point of this game, it was early, but it was that 3rd and 9 from the UW 31. We had just shanked a punt. Luke Dunn just shanked a punt. They had short field on our UW 32. We hold them to 3rd and 9. DT Sheffield takes that like crossing route.
Yeah.
And X-ray, man, open field tackle makes a perfect tackle there. I think they end up the Patel kid, the kicker for Rutgers, ends up missing a field goal there. We get the ball back. I don't think we do much with it, but then once again, Deshaun Lynch, baby, the big juicy 41 man. I mean, makes another huge play. Middle of second quarter, 4th and 3. They want to go for it because they realize they need to score points to win this game. He bats that ball down back-to-back weeks, making just big time plays. But man, it's once again get an opportunity to play, make the coaches, believe in you so much they can't take you off the field. I think Deshaun Lynch is kind of making a name for himself with all of his big plays.
100%. Deshaun Lynch was all over my notes as far as whether it was just getting push or it was actually making the play itself.
Yeah, X-Ray had like the best grade across the board in terms of coverage, run defense, pass defense. Like he was lights out in this game.
He had the best
showed it
grades, you said?
massively. Yeah, he like across the board consistency at all measures. He did. I think
Really?
the only thing that
What
he had
were
like
his grades? I'm just curious.
he had like a 7, he had like mid 70s for pretty much everything except for I think in tackling he had like an 85. His
Wow.
pass rush was like 60 something, but everything else was in the 70s in terms of coverage, tackling, run defense, defensive grade overall. He had a fantastic game.
And we're really, really going to need that. I mean, because also, unfortunately, one of the things that stuck out of my notes was Devin Bryant
Yeah.
missing tackles, getting beat, and then also us seeing ZRS on the field for the first time. And I kind of like the way he moved. Do you guys have any thoughts on the linebackers?
Did they bring in? Can I ask this question? Do you guys know this? Did they bring ZRS in for Devin Bryant? So
Yeah.
we had ZRS and X-Ray next to each other?
Yeah.
Dude, I'm gonna tell you right now, 6'2", 6'3", both from right around 240.
Yeah, that is a turn. That's a turn from what we've seen in the beginning, at the beginning of this year for sure.
Yeah, I mean that's some, and they can both run too. Man, I love seeing that hometown kid, in X-Ray Alexander, come back and actually ball out. But from a linebacker perspective, really quick, Mike, One thing you're always going to see, especially this coming week, you got at point of attack, you have to make that tackle. You can't go back. You have to push. You have to push forward, man. So if they can't get those guys on the ground, I mean, they're going to bring other guys in to make those tackles. You just can't miss tackles in this defense from the linebacker position.
That's real.
To what you were talking about with the defensive line earlier, Noah, did you know this is an interesting stat regarding our rush defense? 3.11 yards per carry allowed, 16th in college football.
That's for the year?
Yeah.
Man,
oh, wow.
That's, I mean, I just, that, no, I didn't know that. I'm just baffled by that.
No, you know what? I've been saying the same thing.
Because it's almost like this is one of those years where we're so hyper focused on getting sacks that anytime we're not, that there's that we focus on, and then it's kind of like you've called it out. We've talked in private about seeing the push that offensive lines and offensive guards will get some at times, and it would surprise you to know that like we're really not getting gashed in the run by teams. I mean, if you think about Ohio State, even they had no explosives, I believe, no. If I remember correctly.
No, so they didn't.
That's your best running back like team, right? I mean, Maryland wasn't the guy. He had a good game, but it wasn't like crazy. Then this game, they couldn't get anything going on the ground. So, and then you played 3 not so great teams, before that. So
it wasn't like when we faced Monungai last year. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I wonder if that has a lot to do with kind of going back to what we said about, are we kind of getting this? Are we kind of piecing this together at the right time? Like these guys are kind of meshing, but the real thought on that is, are we once again, are we confident in 5, 6, 7 dudes so we're healthy in the sense of we have the wind and we can play at full speed and then pull the dude out, get new guys in. It just kind of seems like maybe we're kind of we have a full unit, healthy interior defensive line unit that's making plays.
And what's interesting, I guess, Rutgers had 107 yards rushing. I show 4 yards a carry. But even then, that's above the mean. That's above the average. So it actually raised the average. So it was better before this game started. It's crazy.
Yeah, so I think that has to do with because my just re-click, my whole point was, yeah, they gashed us on that 51-yard hitter, but the rest of the game they only average about 2.7.
Oh yeah, good call. Yep. Yeah, I thought just a couple other call outs for us on defense, like they didn't have a whole lot of success converting on 3rd down in this game. Red zone tightened up quite a bit, so we did this like bend don't break stuff, and that's fine with you that's fine if that's the script. And honestly, like some of those PIs on defense in most games in the Big Ten, they're not getting called. Like more so in the Big Ten, referees allow a little bit more physical play on the outside, and there was some that was allowed. You could tell on. I think it was an EFI PI. I can't remember exactly who it was, but it was on our side of the field, Noah. And the referee, when he called the PI, you could tell he wasn't confident in it because he was trying to be overly confident in his call.
That was Taco. That was Taco. Yeah.
It's like, dude, he's trying to sell it to himself as he's making the call and stick to it. It's
the 2 PI penalties on it because each of them got one, and they were both. It was hand fighting. Even the announcers on TV were kind of like, for real? That's what you're going to call?
Yeah.
I mean, the one on the one on the interception, because Taco had the pick in the first half.
Yep.
And they called it back because of the PI, and the guy was like, that was not pass interference.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of been weird. It's kind of been like that all season. Now, real quick, before we end this, what did we learn about this team from this game? Because this game was a little bit different than a lot of the other games. Like I know we ended up pulling away in the 4th that was similar, but it was a game at home where team got on us quick, and then all of a sudden we came back, and you started seeing every facet of the team kind of working. What do you feel like we actually learned about our team in this game?
I think what we learned was that Takario makes a huge difference in our confidence in how we game plan for a team. And I think that we learned that if you are a team that leans strictly on the pass and you don't have a super effective run threat, and we can key in on that, we may allow you to get some yardage, but that we have the guys who can kind of put their money where their mouth is and keep teams from scoring in the red zone. Like that's what picked up to me. The other thing that might be random is this. I think Noah and I were joking before the game started about how many teams, or excuse me, how many fans would be at this game. And Noah, I think, said 65,000. I was like, dude, there's no way there's gonna be 65,000 here. I think at max, based on like seat capacity, I bet you we got up to like 53. I haven't looked at what the actual
They
tickets.
announced 63.
63? No.
63,000 was the announced.
I was gonna say like the halfway point of the second quarter, I looked up and I didn't want to call Noah's attention to it, but I was like, there's actually a good amount of people here.
Yeah, hey, you know what? For there being a game 5 ALDS game and got 50,000 people in Mariners. Yeah, it shows you how much Huskies fans really care about Husky football. They're still going to show, even though we're not like Eugene where it's the only game in town. There's a lot of other things happening, and it's a Friday night during traffic time, and everybody still comes out and supports the Dogs.
Well, in years past, like prior to the Kalen DeBoer era, we would have not had that, in my opinion. But I think that what we saw was like a residual effect of like we went 6-7 last year, and the fan base has keyed in on UW and are more knowledgeable as a fan base about the potential of this team despite a 4-1 record or whatever, right? To show up for this game.
You know why that is?
That's really impressive.
That's because there's the Dubbed Up podcast out there.
That's why,
letting them know what's up. No, and I'm joking a little bit, partly serious though. There's a lot more Husky news outlets than there ever was pre 2023.
Multiple avenues too. It's not just written articles like it was 5-10 years ago.
There's podcasts, there's video podcasts, there's people talking about it, and there's national pundits like, Jake Butt really has taken a interest in UW, and he's talking about us a lot on the Big Ten Network. And tell me guys this, don't you think the Big Ten Network covers the Dogs hella better than the old Pac-12 network did?
No, it's not even close.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it's interesting because you would think that would result in an AP top 25. But for whatever reason, despite the fact that there's national coverage, it doesn't matter. It's like, geez, dude.
Yeah, like Noah said, that's all going to change. All right, is there anything else you guys want to get into about Rutgers, or are we ready to get into the big steak dinner of the podcast right now?
I want to say this real quick. Kudos to the Dog Pack. Dude, they showed out, man.
Yes.
That place was absolutely jumping from kickoff to the end of the game. People stayed around just to watch the Mariners game on the Big Tron. I mean, it was pretty cool to see. The other piece I want to say is another game where we start down 2 scores. It kind of shows a little bit about the resilience, the spine of this team, that we can kind of face adversity straight up and come out victorious and back.
I was never worried.
Hey, guys, let me ask you guys.
I was never worried for whatever reason.
Why do you think this keeps happening, though? Because that's the question that I know a lot of people in Husky Nation are frustrated with, is the slow starts. And it's happened across the board. Why is this happening?
Penalties, youth. That's probably the main factor. Our coach's ability to make adjustments and actually at half. And also some of the matchups that we've played some good offenses. Maryland is a good offense. Rutgers is a great offense. Ohio State, imposes their will on teams. I think if you were to take off the myopic lens and not be overly pessimistic and you were trying to find middle ground, it's because of the youth and guys settling in and our ability to make adjustments at half is why there's like a night and day difference that makes it so obvious.
Yeah, I was kind of starting to think that, the last couple of weeks we had played teams that had 2 weeks to prepare for us. You know what I'm saying? And that I gave it to that, but Rutgers didn't, right? Rutgers wasn't coming off a bye when they played us.
No, they were.
Oh, they were. Maybe that might be what it is. Because I was worried. I was like, is Jed not just getting his guys ready? Or is Jed like a Vasily Lomachenko where he spends the first 3 rounds feeling a guy out before he actually starts going to work on the guy?
I kind of think that's what it is to a degree. Like in our game plan and personnel kind of calls for it. Like you kind of bait and see what they're going to do, and then you out adjust them in the second half.
Dude,
Okay.
lastly, I gotta say this. We gotta say this. Big 9-2. Bryce, big body Butler, man. 2 sacks.
Big body band.
Come on,
Yeah.
baby. I mean, dude, that
Yeah,
is a
great,
great
fantastic
game.
game.
Tackle for loss. I think 2 tackle. I mean, just he's coming, man. I'm telling you. And
He's been
yep,
he's been one of those guys that's been on the rise the whole year, and he's kind of showing it. He's also quick. Like
yeah,
out of
dude.
all our D
How
tackles,
about
he's
he got one of those sacks running the quarterback down, man. That was, I mean, and I think
he
he
did.
almost
He
got
didn't
another
actually
one.
tackle him. The dude
No,
fell.
he didn't. He didn't, which is fine. But I mean, that's just
Yep,
pressure. I
still a
mean,
sack.
when you're 6'5", 315 running down Callum McManus or Callum, well, I don't even care what that
Kelly
kid's
Callie
name
McManus.
is.
McManus,
I don't even care.
Roy
A-
Butt.
AK, dude, it's so hard. Some of these names are freaking
Uh,
crazy. I gotta learn. I gotta learn our Pacific Islanders and Samoan and Tongan names. I love them. I love them, man. It's just there's tough,
There's a
brother.
lot. There's a lot of vowels. There's a lot of
Yeah,
vowels.
yeah.
Real quick before we move on to the next segment, make sure you guys go down there, hit the link, join the Discord. I'll get more into that later. All right. So this weekend, guys, it's live from Ann Arbor. It's a Big Tank showdown. It's strength on strength. I mean, there's a lot of history between Michigan and UW. I always like to think of that 91 Rose Bowl when we took it to them and won our national championship. Michigan is strong, though. They got a real tough running game. They always have a good defense. What do you guys think about going into this big game? Because now for them, it becomes a must-win game after losing to USC. And for us, it kind of pushes us on the brink of jumping into that elite conversation, which I feel like we're a year early on that, and we're starting to actually knock on that door. What do you think about going back to the big house?
The spread opened up right around 5.5. I think it's upticked right to 6.5. You got the over under in the mid 50s. I mean, it might even be the low 50s, but I mean, this is a game where I think you win this game and you don't even worry 20 to 25 in the AP poll. I think you jump into the teens. I think that's how big a game like this is.
mhm.
I think you win a game, of this magnitude, you get instant respect. But like we talked about, big noon kickoff, noon on the East Coast, right? Like 9 a.m. here. Yeah, it's a
Guys,
little
won't be
tough.
sleepy time. It won't be Betty time for half of the AP voters.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So did you see that Jed was talking to the Seahawks coach Mike McDonald about like why have they been so successful? If you don't know this, Seattle, the Seahawks have won 9 straight games on the road, trying to kind of understand, what's making sense. I guess they leave like a day early, kind of push the schedule up a little bit, and they've actually gone to like bigger, wider planes. And with our
Mhm.
agreement with Alaska Airlines and Hawaiian Air, we got the big body wide planes now, like the Bryce Butler 747s. And so, I mean,
The Bryce Butler 747.
so I just think I think in the end, man, I mean, this is a game where you go into the big house. We haven't won in the big house since 1984.
Damn.
1984. So, can the Dogs win this game? Bryce Underwood, Justice Hayes, maybe. I mean, this is a this is going to be a fun game, but I think the Dogs can win this game. We got a couple keys to the game and what it looks like, so we'll jump into that. What are you thinking?
First of all, what I'm thinking is that we should be at this game. But
Oh,
no, Noah's
Ooh.
been to the big house, and I have not, and I am extremely jealous. But and shout out to everybody on Twitter who was kind of like retweeting or liking the tweet exchange that I was having with I can't remember his name, like Jerry from Alaska Air, where he
I
was
saw
like,
that.
no,
I was like, we need more flights. Yeah. Jordan. Yeah. We needed more flights, and I tweeted at Alaska on Monday morning, and I was like, hey, there's no direct flights. And Jordan responded immediately, and who knows if it's AI Jordan or not. And we quote tweeted that, and people were getting on the train, but we're not going to be able to make it, unfortunately, and that's okay. Yeah, we found a couple seats, but they were absurdly expensive, so we can't make it happen. We'll get to another one, but yeah, I mean, this is look, Michigan is what Michigan is, run heavy. They got a freshman quarterback, which is different for them, and they got handled by USC, but that game completely changed when Justice Haynes left it. And that is going to be probably the decision maker, in my opinion, in terms of us winning this game or not. He is that big of a factor. I think it is a like a 4 point swing type of thing. And so it becomes a coin flip with him out if you're looking at Vegas odds. What's interesting is that Vegas has been gracious to us in the last couple of games in terms of where the line is, in terms of like the over, the spread.
Yep.
And in this game, I think they're being a little bit too Michigan heavy on this one. I get playing in the big house. There's not going to be downplaying that. The penalties that can ruin this game for us, in my opinion. We need to get explosives on the road, and we have young guys, and we're going to the big house, and it's sold out. So, yeah, so we'll get more into it, but I think this is going to be this game becomes a lot more elementary to break down if Justice Haynes is not in it.
Okay.
So we'll see.
Now,
we're not 100%.
Now, maybe we could let those folks over at Alaska know that if they want to charter a flight for Dubbed Up, and we'll give them a shout out. They can be our sponsors. I got nothing against it. I love flying Alaska.
Approved. We've approved it.
All right, let's take a look at the offense. Izzo, I know you like to break down the players.
Yep.
What are we looking at when we're looking at the Michigan offense?
All right, I'm not going to go through every single player like I normally do. I'm going to talk about the ones that we should key in on. Bryce Underwood, of course.
The $3 million man.
Yeah. So what's really interesting about Bryce Underwood is the notable difference of when he's under pressure. I don't know if it's interesting. He's a freshman quarterback, and I don't think the future looks bright for him. But when he is his PFF grade of when he's under pressure versus when he's not under pressure, he's like a 70, low 70s. When he's under pressure, he's like in the low 40s, high 30s.
Oh, wow.
So there's a huge difference there. They've got, some good offensive linemen. Obviously, Evan Link is the guy that most people know. Jake
Garnera.
Thank you. Yeah. Jake Garnera, right guard for them. He had an 82 pass blocking grade against Wisconsin. Once Justice Haynes leaves, it impacts their entire offense. So like their identity on offense is obviously to run the football with him. When he left, their EPA just absolutely plummets, and they end up in a lot of third and longs. And so that's something to keep an eye on. Andrew Marsh, which is a guy that we recruited. He's a really athletic, big, strong wide receiver. The NFL written all over that kid. But they've been struggling to move the ball through the air, and the referees are going to let us get physical with him. That like I like Takario just experience wise in that matchup. And I think that you're going to see a lot of Takario versus Andrew Marsh in this game, and that'll be really fun to watch because you're going to see Andrew Marsh flash, and you'll be like, who is that kid? Michigan may decide to pop the top on a few in this game.
They did against USC.
Yeah. Also, you're going to see more Bryce Underwood design runs, in my opinion, which they did a lot more when Justice Haynes came out, especially in the red zone. Those are kind of the main guys I wanted to call out. Their offensive line has played a lot together, and they don't commit the penalties that we do. They're not perfect, but they're like middle of the road. Whereas that could be like a key factor of this game is whether or not that we're disciplined in that regard.
The only thing I was going to say about their offensive line is historically, they I think they've won the Joe Moore Award, as the best offensive line quite a few different times. UW's won it,
I think they won it the year before we won it.
Yeah, exactly. I think in 22 we won it in 23 or something along those lines. This offensive line, I think, is good. I think playing together, that's a big piece for me. Is what is the continuity? The brother on your left and right, together, kind of know what you're gonna do. They have that piece. I don't know if they have just those like nasty maulers. We're like historically, Michigan's kind of known for. But I mean, they're a good offensive line. It'll be a really good test. We talk about kind of this defensive unit coming together. This is probably, this with Ohio State is going to be their, their biggest test. So it's exciting to kind of see that.
Yeah. What I wonder is if they tip their hat a little bit at times with like the in-breaking routes, especially with Marsh. And I wonder, we've seen in games past where we play this like kind of bend don't break a little bit, to be honest, like we did with Rutgers, but also other games as well where we play off ball quite a bit. Yep. And I wonder if we come up and try to take away, if we feel like that they're coming to pass, like try to press Marsh and make him beat you physically with like Takario and Efi, because I think we match up really well on those receivers.
That actually makes a lot of sense, because if you look at like what Underwood averages per pass, it's only like 7.9 yards per pass. And that would let you know that he's doing what a lot of these quarterbacks have done to us over the last few weeks, where they hit that first read and get the ball out of their hand really, really quickly. So I think what you're saying makes sense. Bring these guys up.
The slant. I remember there was we used to joke about it last year. Denzel would just throw the slant. Like there was a bunch of jokes on Twitter. Go do it. I see them doing that a lot with Marsh. He's their chain mover type of guy, occasional explosive. So that's what you can kind of expect there. Interesting in terms of their O-line, 10 sacks on 180 dropbacks, which is 5.5%. That's much better than the FBS average at 8%. Michigan will bring in extra blockers. They did this against USC. They had an interesting play where they ran at crossers. It was really simple, but for whatever reason, they had like zone underneath, and then they put man on the outside receivers, and the zone guys just weren't doing anything. And Underwood waded deep into the routes and the crossing in the back of the end zone, and he hit a wide open. He wasn't wide open, but he was fairly open receiver in the corner of the end zone from a guy who came from right to left, and the guy on the left was doing the same thing. On that play, they brought in two tight ends that just blocked. They did not go out on routes, and they do, provide that extra cushion for Bryce, and then try to beat you with those two receivers. I like us, in that matchup.
Do you think, Izzo, do you think against these wide receivers, like what are your thoughts about McCulley? Kind of seems like the most complete wide receiver they have. But do you kind of think, if maybe not a full blown bracket, but make sure our safeties are kind of aware of where he is, and then let's just see if Marsh and Morgan can beat us. Because that's like when I look at this game from a passing perspective, I'm like, I think McCulley's complete wide receiver, and Marsh and Morgan are still kind of elite type athletic receivers, but I don't know if those guys will straight up beat us in this game.
Yeah, they only have 6 plays, I believe, over 30 yards this year. So it's not a strong point for them. It'd be interesting. There's a pathway where UW just shuts them down, which will be interesting.
That would be lovely. Now, Noah, they got a new man at the helm running that offense. Can you tell us a little bit about him?
Chip Lindsey, they brought him in last year. I think Moore was kind of just he was a little bit underwhelmed with their offense was doing historically. The interesting piece is they kind of brought in the same philosophy with this new offensive coordinator. Very run first, pro spread, a lot of motions, multiple different play action type looks. They want to layer in the tight end, this Klein kid. I mean, just about anywhere they can. But I mean, once again, lethal run game. 215 yards a game, 17 touchdowns. I think Bryce Underwood's only thrown for 5 touchdowns on the year. I mean, I think coaches kind of know what they have in Bryce Underwood. Elite recruit, has everything you want from a big time playmaker. I'm just not sure if I think they've taken the training wheels off of him yet. And I don't know. I hope it's not in this game where he just kind of unleashes. But where I've really seen these guys struggle is Underwood only completes 59% of his passes. And where does that percentage ring true? Who's the last quarterback we saw? True freshman, Malik Washington, right around 57, 58, 59% completion. And we saw when that game kind of unfolded, when they needed to score late in that game, Ryan Walters started throwing different looks at him, different pressures. He folded a little bit. We got him on 4 straight, downs, 3 and outs, and we made our hay there. He's got a big arm, but he's not extremely consistent. And I think if we can kind of keep him, behind the chains, kind of get him off schedule, he seems to really struggle when it is on him to make those 3rd and 4th downs. 3rd down, 39% completion. 14% on 4th down, 1 of 7 on the year. So they haven't converted, kind of on his passing when they needed him. So, I mean, that's kind of how I see, Chip Lindsey wants to really lean on this run. But I think that's kind of where UW makes their hay and kind of, can
I love what you're saying there. Like Maryland is they're a really good comp to this team. Not necessarily scheme wise, because Maryland likes to take the deep shot, but you wonder if they kind of try to mimic that in the first quarter. That would actually play pretty nicely if they try to pass more in this game and try to extend drives that way, the way that Maryland was. And I wonder if you see that similar adjustment to what you're talking about from Walters, where he kind of lets it happen for 2 quarters, not necessarily fall behind big, but
Yeah,
we talked.
don't go down 20.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, don't go that far, Walters, please, God. But kind of like lull them into that, get them comfortable into that, and then make a big adjustment and shut it down. And we were just talking about the timing of the adjustments, and it's played pretty well into our hands so far that we make them later.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you kind of lull a freshman quarterback into that comfortability, and then you change everything up on him, and then he's like, they're just, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. But
Well,
we'll see. I don't know. Michigan has they have their run game. If Haynes is out, it's gonna be huge.
Well, that's what I was just about to say. Is that we haven't got any word on Haynes yet, right? We don't know if he's going to play.
They're kind of playing coy with it. Like I've seen some Michigan fans saying that if you read between the lines of how he typically talks towards a player of his, that he's being. It almost sounds. It seems bad if you're just kind of
he's doing like what
language.
Jed was doing with Takario a month ago.
Yeah, but even maybe more to a further degree. Where
if you watch that USC game when he got landed on by that, I think it was a D lineman. Man, it landed on his side, right on his rib. I mean, you saw the body just kind of go like compress. And I ain't no doctor, but I stayed at a Holiday Inn Express last night, and I'll tell you what, man. I mean, it looks like a broken rib to me, man. I mean, that's the definition.
And so if he's gonna play through, it's gonna hurt like hell.
Well, what is that? So what does that end up doing though to their offense? I mean, they're a completely different offense without Haynes in there?
They were over two in the red. They were 0 for 2 in the red zone against USC after he got hurt. Like I said, their EPA their effectiveness is running the ball absolutely plummeted. They became one-dimensional, and then you're relying upon a freshman quarterback to move the ball against USC, chasing points. Like it's borderline. It's not a complete death blow because their offensive line is good, but it's going to have a big impact. It
puts a lot of pressure on the freshman.
Yeah. I think you were telling me when we were talking on the phone earlier, like you feel like he's like a first or a second round guy.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at Jordan Marshall, their backup. I mean, he's a B back right now, and I'm not saying he won't be there, but dude, Justice Haynes is a 1A back. Here's his first, just for our listeners. Here's his first 5 games. 165, 3 touchdowns, 120 and a touchdown, 120 and a touchdown, 161 and a touchdown, 117 and 2 touchdowns. Those are his first 5 games. I mean, he is a game breaker, first round, second round type player. I mean, his draft stock has just skyrocketed, after what they've kind of seen this kid do. But what I think happens, and Izzo kind of touched on this. Remember Bryce Underwood? I'm pulling this up as we talk. I mean, he's 6'4", 230. Mm-hmm. He only averages about 5 carries a game. You gotta think if Justice Haynes ain't in this game, there's got to be an uptick to his carries.
Definitely.
Designed runs, got to put in more of an RPO type game. You have to figure out a way to stress this University of Washington defense. And I know there's been some people that are like, okay, if they're going to run more, do we spy him? And I don't know. I don't know if he's got that twitchiness where you have to spy him.
It's not like an outside breaking run. It's more of like a run between the tackles type thing.
So let me ask you though, if they did spy him, who would they use? Who would they spy him with?
In my opinion,
McLaughlin or X-Ray is my thought.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, because one thing about McLaughlin, hey, where's he struggled? A little bit in the pass coverage, when they go man up, man on man.
Good game last game though. But yes, you're right. You're still right.
But in general though, he is an absolute open field dynamic tackler, man. He makes dude, he is tough. And I mean, dude ain't got no fear in that body, man. So he ain't scared of, 18-year-old Bryce Underwood.
Yeah. Totally agree with everything Noah said there. No notes.
Is there anything else you want to get into with the Michigan offense, or even anything about how UW's defense may attack, or should we move on to Michigan's defense?
The only thing I'll say really quick is, if you noticed in the Rutgers game, and if I already talked about this, forgive me, but I think this is important. In the Rutgers game, when they gashed us, we had a 4-man front. We actually had a really nice play on that 51-yard hitter. I thought Lane should have made that tackle in the backfield, but immediately or within a couple plays, we moved more into like the 5-man front, brought in the heavy package. I'm a firm believer you're going to see a heavy rotation of the big boys in this game. I'm talking
Peppa,
yes,
Sagapalu, all them guys. Yeah.
three down linemen, shut the run down and make this Bryce Underwood kid beat you. That's what I think you're going to see 5-man front over and over and over again.
Yeah.
I really do.
Do you think we're going to see Manu and ZRS on the field together?
I don't know. I wonder if they're going to do Manu in this game. It'll be interesting. I mean, I don't necessarily think it's going to be like, of course he's a difference maker, but I think if you're asking X-Ray or Zadrius to key in on the running back, which is what I would kind of focus them there and be like, hey, we're not asking a ton of you in this game to defend the pass, like a little bit, but that's not your key focus. I think the key to stopping Underwood from taking over on the ground is to really be effective in what Noah's saying, like show a bunch of different fronts and stop him with the defensive line more so than we need to spy and stuff like that. I think that the linebackers ZRS and I think X-Ray are capable of taking down Bryce Underwood, but it's if he's getting past that first layer a lot on the outside, that'll kind of change how you scheme for it. But I'll just to call out what Noah is saying here too. We blitz, I think 20% of the time roughly, which is on the bottom at like the lower end. And
Keep
so
going with this.
Yeah.
This is good. Keep going.
Yeah, we have 4 sacks against Rutgers. We weren't bringing the blitz. Yeah, I mean, no, I feel like you fill me in on what you're going to say because Bryce Underwood is not good under pressure.
No. That I was literally going to go back to your stat, which was killer. Is I think this is where a game where Ryan Walters brings pressures from all over the field. We've been saying that. We've been seeing little upticks, and we've seen little more. This is a game, freshman quarterback in the big house. You show this kid, hey, I'm an NFL caliber, type defensive coordinator, and I'm going to bring stuff from freaking every orifice.
You're going to turn every player into a missile. That's what he's going to do.
But I'm just saying. I think Izzo. I think that is such a valid point. He's good. He's very good when he's kind of settled in the pocket. He has that. He has those big 6'6", 320-pound Michigan offensive lineman. But when he gets a little bit of juice in his face, those young freshman quarterback, they tend to. The game speed's a hell of a lot different Division I than freaking high school.
I don't know if I did like the perfect job of explaining it. I think that what you just said kind of wraps it up. Like I think that the blitzing is coming from exotic blitzes. I don't think that whether or not that Bryce Underwood effectively replaces Justice Haynes' red zone impact is necessarily on the linebacker's ability to tackle him, because I think that they can. I think it's more on the defensive line's push.
I do like to see, we talk about the 5-man front. I wonder, though, if we can get them behind the chains, kind of get them off schedule, make Bryce Underwood throw them back into this game. Once again, I've been asking for it, man. Uncle No-No's been asking for it. Can we get this NASCAR package, this speed package? Yeah. We still haven't seen a lot of it, and maybe this usually isn't a game you'd probably see it in because such a run heavy offense. But man, how do we put this kid under pressure where he has to throw the ball to win this game? Because if we can do that, that's when the purple and gold, I think, win a game like this. I really do.
Okay. I like our defense against their offense.
Yeah.
Well, and especially because it feels like our defense is literally starting to come into its own. You're starting to see guys like Ward and Lane and a couple of the interior guys really starting to get push and pressure now that we weren't seeing a year ago. And that's good. Now let's switch over, though, to the Michigan defense. The Michigan defense is actually no joke. They got a lot of players on that defense. And there's 2 numbers I want to point out to you guys, 15 and 8. They have 15 sacks and 8 interceptions on the year so far. And that shows you they get a lot of pressure and create turnovers. Izzo, break down this defense for me.
Yeah, they've got some stellar guys in the back end. You got Rod Moore, Jair Hill, Zeke Berry. They all played pretty well against Wisconsin. Those are the guys to focus in on the defensive backfield. Derek Moore, Cameron Brandt, Trey Pierce. Saw some people talking about Trey Pierce, whether or not he's going to be fully healthy, but those are kind of the main pass rusher / guys up front that you really want to key on. Those are the big names. Most of their starters are just very solid. Like they're not a team where you're like, hey, here's a glaring, obvious guy to go attack outside of, in my opinion, maybe how they defend the slot and the tight end from their safety and their linebackers do not grade very well pass coverage. And so this could be a game where you really don't change the game plan a ton and you do this, Jonah demand design runs, then play action and open up the middle of the field. And whereas last game you got away with attacking with Denzel Boston regardless, and if you go back and watch the plays, you're going to see plenty of Roebuck's like insane spin move that he pulled as he darted towards the end zone. You're going to see Raiden Vinesbride open in the middle of the field getting his catches, but we really didn't like target it a ton. And I think this is a game where you might have to continue to get your explosives to continue drives because they're going to want to keep you playing their football game and trying to beat them on the ground. And I thought that Rutgers, with a really strong linebacker, that Jabome kid, they did a pretty good job against Jonah. And so, especially with two offensive linemen out, if we're without Carver and without John Mills, you're going to have to move the pocket because this defense is a solid defense, obviously. And yeah, I'll go into it more. But yeah, Noah, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, Wink Martindale, man, he's been there for quite a few years now. I mean, he runs that 4-2-5 NFL style defense, kind of pressure under fire type defensive coordinator. I'm sorry, but I think kind of what Wink wants to do is he wants to make offenses like feel the pain of that pressure, And I think in the end, I think you bring up a good point, Izzo, is if they're so aggressive about getting into the quarterback's face, play action should be open because you bring them on some RPO, bring them on some play action, and hit them over the top. The two games I really watched was Oklahoma and Nebraska. I watched this USC game live this year, but the games I went back and watched was Oklahoma and Nebraska. And what I noticed was this: when they brought pressure on the quarterback, a player like Raiola, they could get to him because he doesn't have the foot speed. But where they struggled was with Mateer. And I'll tell you what, if they're going to bring the pressure on Damon Williams, they don't have the horses at all their levels to really be able to run with him. I know they got the defensive playmakers and they kind of centered around Houseman and Barham, but Damon Williams can outrun both those guys. And I think that's where they might struggle if they get so enamored with, Wink does what he does, man, bring pressure, all different levels. I think that's where you can kind of see us, kind of get into these guys and get some big hitters over the top, some big design runs. And you even might see Jonah run some zone off tackle and kind of expose some of these angles.
USC actually did a lot of that. If you watch the USC game, they got beat by speed in that game. I mean, in the running game, and then players getting out into space and moving. What's USC's running back? I can't remember off the top of my head right now. But he tore them up in space. I'm not talking about running between the tackles. I'm talking about the zones to the outside, the pitches, and then the screen passes like into the teeth of the blitz.
Yeah, they did more in this game, that's for sure.
King Miller went for 18 carries, 158 yards, 9 yards a carry in that USC game.
I think they're going to be more strategic with their blitzing in this, and I think I would have to guess this was like by far their most amount of missed tackles in a game. I believe they had 8, and I don't see them challenging Demond with like tons of blitzes in this game. I think they try to play more disciplined.
Like Ohio State did, keep him in the pocket.
Kind of, yeah. And I think if there's anywhere that you could maybe criticize the skill position players, and I'm not saying that there's a ton of room to do so for UW, it is long speed. It is that, I think Jonah makes guys miss with quickness, and his contact balance is insane. And I think that's going to bode well for us. And I really like the off tackle stuff. That's a great call, especially the right side. I think we should see a good heavy dose of that. But I think just the way that this is working out, just to me screams Damon Williams, design runs, play action, and looking for slot targets and tight end targets over the middle. And that's how and then dial up an explosive deep for Denzel. Okay. But they have good safeties, and you can't lose the turnover battle in this game and give them extra possessions because they're going to try to run the clock out. They're just going to try to hang on to the ball forever and extend drives.
Old school Big Ten style football, yeah. No, a good question for you then. Like, because I think what Izzo just broke down is actually a very good path to how we could win this. How do we test them? How do we put them in position to make these plays successful?
Yeah, one of the interesting things I noticed in that USC game is, and you don't usually see this in like a Wink Martindale offense, is they seem to struggle once USC put them in tempo. They weren't even getting like Michigan struggled to get lined up. And I don't know if it was like substitution issues. They just didn't understand like the formations. Maybe they didn't see those, in the film. But once USC put them in tempo, man, they struggled big time. So I kind of want to see UW do that exact same thing to them. The other thing is I'm going to go back to if they want to bring pressure, how we can kind of abuse those angles, the screen game. We've seen the last 3 weeks, man, Jonah just takes screens and just punish defensive backs when they come up to try to tackle him. Listen, man,
Yeah.
Rod Moore, Zeke Berry. I mean, they're players, but they don't want to tackle the bowling ball, man. I mean, he will punish you. And going back, edge and perimeter runs, man. I think we can really expose this defense. That's kind of how I think you can test this Michigan defense.
You're gonna have Michigan fans in the comments for sure. If
Love it.
there's anything that we know from the national championship podcast that we did, I think we had like 400 something comments about that.
Is there anything else you guys want to go over with the defense?
You're gonna have to do something in the big house that they don't do very often, which is score 30. If you can get to 30, I think we can win this game. If Justice Haynes is out, that poses a huge problem. And for them on offense to impose their will, they're going to have to rely upon true freshman, Bryce Underwood to make up for that, which against our run defense, I like that matchup long term.
Okay. All right. One of the things that we do here at Dubbed Up is we like to have the people that are either in the Discord, that are on Twitter, or in the comment section on YouTube ask us questions. And as long as they're good questions and not stupid ass questions, we'll answer them. That's basically how we do this. It's very, very simple. So, you guys ready to get into this?
Let's do it.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
The first question is from Say Who, Say What. And it's, how hard is a 9 a.m. Pacific time kickoff to overcome? Fact check my research.
We didn't fact check it. Sorry, Say Who, Say What.
Big Ten teams are 4-16 when traveling 3 time zones in 2024-2025. Big Ten road teams are 3-14 when they travel at least 1 time zone and have to play at noon Eastern time. What do you guys think?
I think it's especially difficult for us right now because of how young we are. So don't point that out. I don't like it. Because it is going to be difficult, man, especially if, you're not just going to Rutgers here. You're not going to Maryland. You're going to the big house. And yeah, I mean, I don't have anything to add outside of it. If we kick ourselves in the foot a bunch in this game, which we're one of the most penalized teams in college football right now, we're going to have a hard time. So
No. I mean, when you played, how was travel hard like that?
When you're a player, I don't think you think of it that much, but I think like subconsciously, I mean, the numbers don't lie. I mean, 4 of 16, if that's correct, I think it is. I don't think that's that crazy to think. There's something to do with the environment when it gets loud. Your team's on offense.
Noah's had this internal battle, by the way.
Oh, I have
over the last few years, where he's got a buddy that he and I both know who is constantly putting that in front of him, and Noah's bounced back and forth on whether or not that's legit as like an athlete. Because you're right, you don't think about it. You're like, you're not going to be like, it doesn't feel different mentally.
I will say this really quick. I played in a game. It was an SEC team. And there was 110,000 people there. And I will say this, when our offense would go on the field, you could legitimately feel the pressure change in your body, on your chest, when they would start yelling. I mean, it was so. Yes, maybe just as the whole game goes on, maybe everything kind of calms down for that first big hit. But man, I will tell you, when that crowd starts yelling, 107, 110,000 people,
you're going to know it.
You're going to know it, and you're going to feel it. So,
yeah. Well, and you know what's the best for that? If you can silence them quickly, I'll bet you it's equally as good of a feeling to feel the silence in a gigantic space like that when you know that they're downtrodden because of the success that you're having.
Well, how about the Mariners? The Mariners just went up to went up to Toronto. Julio hits that 3-run home run in the first. That place was dead silent.
Mm-hmm.
Then they come back with two, then 3 runs. It's a tie ball game, and then Polanco hits another 3-run home run, and once again, dead silent. We just pound. I mean, dude, that
take pride in killing the crowd. That's what you got to do when you're on the road.
Exactly.
Take pride in killing the crowd. All right. Next question is from the Darker Knight. That's Hood's brother, right? What's up, bro?
Yep.
All right.
Not by blood, I don't think, but either way,
it says,
but by fandom.
How will Jed adjust to Michigan's aggressive pressure packages?
I think we kind of covered that. I mean, I think you see it from aggressive outside runs. I think you're going to try to use some of their angles against them, and I think the screen game. I think we are tried and true, kind of an elite screen game team. I think we get really. It's either lucky or good, man, and we call it at the right time, and Jonah Coleman does the rest. So. That's kind of how I would. That's kind of how I would hit it.
We got another question from the Darker Knight. We actually have two more questions from Darker Knight. We have the keys to starting fast and taking the crowd out of the game. I think we actually kind of got into talking about how we're going to do that.
I don't know if we address it directly. You have to find some balance between not wanting to play their game and just go for these super long drives, in my opinion. Maybe that is the path that Jed wants to take, is like take the intermediate route. But I think you can only do that for so long before they start taking that away. And I don't want to make the adjustment later on the game to move away from the intermediate pass game. I want to be able to have that in the bucket. So I do think the way to take the crowd out of this game, the best that you can, is by getting the run established fairly early and doing that with demand, and then take a deep shot and get it, jump out. Like score 10, go up 7-0, 10-0 type of thing. If you're asking directly, how do we start fast and take the crowd out? It's by getting it going on the ground initially, and then beating them over the top with an explosive.
Okay.
Not giving away the adjustment that we could make later on, which is taking chunks through the intermediate game.
Next question is from Russo. How are run defenses compared to their run game? So I'm saying how does our run defense compare to their run game, and how can we take advantage of their secondary?
So I mean, I can answer the first piece. I mean, on paper, in our reality, it's strength on strength. I mean, if we're only giving up 3-point yards per attempt,
3.1,
yeah, 3.11,
16th in the country.
That lines up pretty well against this Michigan attack. Once again, I know we've said it 5 times on this podcast now, but if Justice Haynes isn't playing this game, man, I mean that's a big deal. So I think we can hold up pretty well against that. How can we take advantage of their secondary? I think the run game, the play action can open up the back end. They don't have Will Johnson. I don't think they have a cornerback who can line up, mano a mano with Denzel Boston. If they do, I would love to see it. They sure as hell didn't have it versus USC. And Denzel Boston's just as good as either of those guys, Lane or Lemon. I think the 3 young bucks, Lawson, Roebuck, and RVB, can have big games this week too. If your secondary is going to try to bracket, or your secondary is going to try to really focus on Denzel, I think those young guys will have a lot of opportunity for a lot of intermediate routes.
Just to confirm, Washington ranks 8th in yards per game, 82.83 a game. That is 3.11 yards per carry. Which
so the defense is doing a lot better against the run than the narrative would suggest.
Correct. And CFB Stats has that tied for 17th with who?
Who is 17?
Michigan.
Oh, wow.
Michigan and Washington both allow 3.11 yards per carry.
Okay. All right. Last question from Jim Liu. If the Huskies can't have their injured guys back, Zach Durfee, Carver Willis, John Mills, who do you count on for pass rush and trench warfare?
True Azzo Party is one.
Azzo's definitely one. Pocky Finau is another one.
Pocky Finau, Jacob Lane on the defensive side of the ball. Ty, I think, can have a big impact.
Deshaun Lynch.
Deshaun Lynch has stepped up big.
Ontario Thompson
had a good game last game.
Big body Bryce Butler.
Yep. That's what you would think. I mean, the one that you worry about is McCree on whichever edge he's going to be playing against, if it's him out there. And I would assume it is McCree. So we got to
Okay.
scheme away from that. I don't know if we focused on that enough, but I'm glad that this question brought it to light. Like, that's a key matchup for sure.
Okay.
Are you saying a key matchup is their edges versus Max McCree?
Yes.
Yeah. No, I mean, once again, man, I mean, I feel like he's settled in well. I feel like
He
his
did.
base, and I feel like his base is kind of getting better, just maybe feeling more comfortable, playing 60, 70 snaps in a game. Does he absolutely have a true big time test this week in Ann Arbor? Absolutely. Time to step up to the plate, man. And
Well, they need to help him out, man. They need to make sure that the tight ends are over there, and they can't wait till the second quarter to do it. They got to do it from the jump. Make sure he's got guys that are helping him out, because those edges are twitchy. They get to the quarterback. I mean, 15 sacks is 15 sacks, and they got to protect Damon.
Yeah.
All right, before we get to final score predictions, do me a favor, you guys. Make sure you go hit the like, subscribe, comment down in the comment section. But more so than anything, go make sure you hit that link to the Discord. It is the link to the best Husky community online right now. It's 2,900 strong. It's free to join, but for a small fee, you can join the VIP and be part of the game day conversations, part of the recruiting conversations, all the things that are literally the funnest parts of Husky football. If you want to have a group of people that are as into it as you are, that is the place to do it. So make sure you go and holler at them. All right, guys, score prediction time. One of our favorite times of the whole podcast, and it looks like I'm starting this one off. We're going into the big house, but this isn't 2021. This isn't a maze out, and I'm a lot more confident in the team that we're putting on the field right now than I was with the team that we put on the field in 2021. I think UW goes into the big house. I think it's a hard-fought game, but when it's all said and done, the final score is 26-21. One more for the good guys. Go Dogs.
Izzo, what you got?
This is going to be a close game for sure. I'm really nervous about this one, because this is really, to me, like a coin flip game that is largely dependent upon Justice Haynes' health. And I think regardless of whether or not he plays substantially, he's not going to be at 100%. So I'm going to make this prediction based on Justice Haynes playing some, but not the whole game. Like, he's on limited snap count, because that's the best that I can do right now. Going into the big house is tough. There's a huge matchup disadvantage that we are at on the left side of this line versus that defensive line. I think that Damon mitigates that quite a bit, and we're going to score more than we're expected to. Gun to my head, if I had to predict the final score, I think it's going to be I think it could be like a heartbreaker for us.
Ooh.
Like a 24-21 loss, because I think we may operate with some recency bias with that Rutgers defense. Look, that was like the worst defense in the Big Ten, or like bottom 3 to now top 3. It's night and day. So I think we got confidence at the right time. It's the right time for Max McCree to get that confidence, but this is a really, really good defense. Do I think they're as good as Ohio State's defense? No. Do I think we're going to score 6 points in this game? No. But I think that drives are going to stall early, and we may end up giving them, a good field advantage, and once or twice in this game? Probably. If UW wins the turnover battle, we win this game, in my opinion. But it needs to be like 3-1. It can't be like 2-1 and then an empty possession from the turnover. You have to capitalize. We have to capitalize in the red zone. We did it against a bad team last week. This is a totally different, beast, the big house. I don't think this is a get right game penalty wise. So all of those things considered, I will pick Michigan to win 24-21, but it's literally like a coin flip if Justice Haynes can't play. And I think I'll say this, if Justice Haynes does not play, we win 27-20. If he does, we lose 24-21.
Okay. All right, Noah, you're hitting cleanup.
I love it. Everyone kind of talks about the big house mystique, and I think there's a lot of reality to that. I think going in to 107,000, 10,000, whatever it is, I think it's tough to do. I think Bryce Underwood, top 5 recruit in the country, El Presidente, Dave Portnoy giving X millions of dollars to get him to Michigan is something that'll set their program up for a lot of years. I think Justice Haynes, though, is that good of a running back. And I don't think he plays in this game. I think he has a serious rib injury. And I think that really hurts them. I think Jordan Marshall is a good running back, but I think he's a B-, to that A+, Justice Haynes is. I think Damon Williams has taken that next step. I think he is putting the nation on notice. I think in the big house, big noon kickoff, we get a late field goal from the super senior Grady Gross. The Dogs win 24-23 to go 6-1. We'll be ranked 16, 17, 18 right in that window come Sunday morning. And there will be no more griping, just glory and smiles,
please.
baby.
That'd be messed up if we win and we're ranked 26th.
Yeah. What happened?
look at Noah, or look at his. It's like, man, don't say that. Don't say that.
Gosh, dude. If
his head will just pop like a tomato.
I got no words. I've totally lost faith in. Oh God, whatever. Let's hope it doesn't matter if we win games. If we go 10-2 and are ranked
10-2, ranked 22nd in the country,
I'll lose my mind.
All right, you guys, we're ready to call this a pod.
Yeah, I want to pick the Huskies to win so bad. This is so hard because you're right. Like DeMond, he looks like he's totally taken that turn. And just like I said when we came back against Maryland, like if he's put in those high pressure situations, I think that game was literally a year's worth of progression in one game, and that he has the cojones to go and win you a game on a final drive. And put it in his hands. So
I love it. I love the idea of it. I love the idea of him grasping greatness, kind of like Penix did. You know what I'm saying? Just grasping it and taking it, making it his. All right. Make sure you guys are here next week. Same dog time, same dog channel. Until next week, go Dogs.
Go Dogs, baby.
Oh,
beat Michigan. Let's go 6-1.
Yeah,
let's play piss.
The Bentleys and the Cadillacs.